So we finished now this wonderful workshop. I think we really enjoyed having all these exchanges. And what's very interesting is that now at this stage, we feel that really a vocabulary is being constructed and knowledge is circulating. And yes, some results are emerging as well. And for yet, we have this wonderful lecture of Karol Pieta, and I let Ulrich Scheller, thanks to him, you are here, and thanks to the discovery, and I let you introduce him.
Oui, alors j'ai le grand plaisir de vous présenter le Dr Karol Pieta de l'Institut central d'archéologie à Nitra en Slovaquie, et plus précisément l'Institut pour l'archéologie baltique et scandinave. En tant que tel, il a affaire avec beaucoup de trouvailles archéologiques en Slovaquie. Il dirige des fouilles qui se présentent pratiquement et surtout, bien évidemment, en ce qui concerne l'archéologie baltique et scandinave. Mais il fait aussi des fouilles en Koweït. Il vient de rentrer de Koweït où il fouille un site paléochrétien en Koweït, effectivement. Donc, mais ce qui nous intéresse aujourd'hui surtout, c'est cette magnifique découverte de cette tombe importante du IVe siècle à Poprad, au pied de la haute Tatra, avec sur lequel il est en train, avec l'aide de spécialistes, beaucoup de spécialistes sur les verres, les textiles, le cuir, les bois, etc. et les jeux, de préparer la publication finale de cette importante trouvaille. Alors je lui laisse la parole maintenant et après on a la chance de discuter ensemble.
First of all, I'm grateful for the invitation to this session, to this colloque. And I would like to present you a short presentation about the excavation and analysis of this famous chieftain grave found in far away in Barbaricum, so 200 kilometers north to Donau Limes, former Donau Limes to this time, because this grave is dated to the end of the 4th century. Now to the discovery of this grave, as usual, by chance, as typical. And as you can see, it was a building area. Italian developers built it here, plant produced to the machines, I don't know what the machines. And they had some problems. It was October 205, and they had on the surface of this future building had a stain or sink full of groundwater, and they tried to dig this sink out and fill it with the stones. And the dredger, the machinist, had digged this hole, this pit, found by chance such a wooden construction in black technique, and the developers say you have fill it, destroy it and fill it with the stones. But someone thought it's maybe a bunker from the Second World War, full with munition, yeah, and it's too dangerous to work here and destroy it, this building or what, yeah. And they refused to follow the work, yeah, and had striked, yeah. So, and the next day, my former doctorand, archaeologist, young archaeologist, gone around and called me, please come, I don't know what is it, but it's something strange, maybe something interesting for the archaeology. And I came, again by chance at the time, I came and for me was it too very strange and very unknown. No, but I thought proudly it's a grave and it's a chamber grave. I was not sure. And briskly I sent a piece of the wood to my colleagues on the University of Kiel in North Germany, and they in a few days I had the result, 4th century AD. We had stopped the works, and the Italians, they were very and at last they thought, so we have a declaration, it's nothing for excavations here. Colleague signed it. No, and but the saving of monuments stopped the work, and in the next year we started the excavations. Yeah, the excavation. You can see the situation, the point. Poprad Mateos, you see Vienna, Bratislava, Budapest, Danube line, so Limes, and we are in Barbaricum, in Carpathians, West Carpathians. No, the digger caused some damage on both sides of the construction, but not too much. And we started the excavations in the first period without the money, because the Italians thought we have the declaration with nothing to excavate here, but we have excavated it, very complicated excavation, because it was not possible to stay on the filling of the grave, and as you can see, we worked so on the belly, and so 4 months long we have excavated it. No, because of the very extremely important object, we flotated and sampled all the things, and from the beginning we had the help from the museums of Schleswig in North Germany, our partners, and they sent us for help the conservator with experienced in work with the wood. Yeah, we hadn't experience with it. It was a very skilled young woman. It's in the red jacket. Now, and step by step we digged it out. Very, very useful was not to control every detail, but we took the blocks to the labors. So 25 of such a big blocks, and we brought the blocks to the labors in Schleswig, and it was a big difference what we analyzed in terrain and what we could see in the labors. The pit of the grave was 5 meters deep, and you can see the huge dimensions of the grave. And it was also the final time of the excavation was end of November, and in the mountains, very dangerous for the woods because this is a wet woods, and they explode also in this forests. They are the last steps of the mountains, the snow around, and we took the parts of the inner chamber in form of sarcophagus, and this is the sending this trailer 1,400 kilometers far to Schleswig-Holstein, and it was necessary in one day to transfer the finds to Schleswig because of frost, it was built a small group. There is a group from the colleagues from Germany and from Slovakia, and to this time is enlarged this group. We are, I think, 25 collaborators on this project. So illustration, the conserving and documentation, mainly as a very, very important was using of GIS system to localizing the parts of and the finds and so on. Short to the dating, with the dendrochronology we have a lot of woods, of course, but all the woods it's lark, and we have the curve for the dendrochronology dating, but we got radiocarbon dating. We have one solidus coin with very good dating. It was minted in the year 300, you see, 375 AD. The starting situation in the time before the robbery, as after the burial, the floor and the rooftop was covered with airs. Maybe it had a tumulus, and but the inside, also the space, was empty because we found the inner chamber was half full, just half full with the mud and hairs. No, and it's again important. The bones of the deceased man, they're no more in anatomical position. There was skeleton, skeletized, and it means the robbing occurred many years after the burial. No, it's the robbing is the, to my mind, is the very exciting crime history because it can be as very in details documented. You can follow me on this plate, on this slide. They are numbered. Yeah? The first was the tunnel or shaft. They found directly the foyer of the grave, and then continued, and it was a fireplace. And not fireplace, but around the fire, as was the kindling woods for the light, yeah. And they then cut the top of the grave, like here, on the left. Yeah. Three timbers, they're cut through the X, and they found the roof of the sarcophagus, or we say inner chamber, and they have broken some plates on the roof, and you can see here is a long the bench or stick, and they tested how deep it will be, and then they are gone to the inside to the grave, yeah. And then it was not space enough for this work, for the robbing. They have broken the wall, on the left side and have thrown parts from the inventory outside, also to the outer chamber. And we don't know if the stool, you can see the red stool on the right corner, if it was inventory of the grave, or they brought it the robbers for the help to stay and bring the booty to the light by the fire. And they took all of the things of value and stay the tools. They are the copies, but the original, they are the same, in the same condition. You can see the huge axe, 2.6 kilogram heavy, and the shovels and the hook. It's the view inside, also just this southeast part of the outer chamber was preserved, and part of the inventory of the goods are preserved here, the pottery and the bronze bucket. And there are the things, for example, the table thrown out from the inner chamber. You can see the axe lying on the bottom. Is the question who was it? Who robbed the grave? I think it was the native people, because we had some pottery. We have very significant axe, well known from these those settlements around the grave. You can see the absolute virwar, the final situation of the grave. Just a small part of the inventory we have found. The game is well known, and the small things mainly lost from the robbers, or they were in the corners, and they haven't found it, or was not interested in such things. Like parts of a mirror, the silver mirror, shoe buckle, the silver ale, and so on. The important things coming from the grave, they are the organic materials. One of them is this bow box, or what? from the calf skin. Calf skin. And the pots, so 8 pieces of pottery, quite simple forms, and is a very old-fashioned bucklet, brass bucklet, just a fragment of a copper cauldron, and that's all. Is the situation with the cauldron, the pottery, and the basket from bast. Inside was a collection of what's the name? For the hygienische oder Toiletgerät. From silver. Yeah.
With scissors.
Yeah.
Interesting. So for trimming the beard, for instance, things like that.
It's quite common for the Germanic chieftain graves, the scissors. Silver or bronze scissors. Maybe symbolic, not for use. Yes, maybe. Now, briefly to the architecture, the form of the chamber is, and as well as the technique, is very similar on the antique, the classical antique grave constructions, as a sample, but from wood. And the form is very similar. The sarcophagus in form of a house.
I just found the block. For those who don't know what is block, c'est le mélèze en français. Le mélèze, donc c'est du bois de mélèze qui a été bois.
It's a wood of good quality. No, it's excavation photos. The way where they came in, and the collapse of the roof, and the roof collapsed by digger, not by during the time. Just unfortunately, also by the discovering of the find. You see the roof gable and the planted framework construction, very special, and from the technician point of view, also excellent work, so carpenter work. And what's interesting is the insulation of the grave. You can find it by wheat roof. The describing of the wooden constructions in the wet milieu. So insulating by charcoal layers. And it was so perfect. We worked inside, and outside was the water level, yeah, and insulation was still perfect. There's an overview of the furnishing of the grave chamber. As a couch, you will see the table, the stool, if originally from the inventory or not. I don't know. Maybe a base of the candle holder or candelabrum. And to these times we put together a new piece. It's maybe a beer or coffin or what. So the couch or bed, it's partly preserved, and parts of the heads of the bed were plated by silver sheets and silver nails. And the robbers they took the sheets away, and we had just the nails and the small parts of the sheets. If you can see the nail. It's the one-to-one reconstruction of the couch made by specialists, and there are a lot of pendants in all possible times around the Mediterranean from various periods. It was a common form, and so far in Barbaricum it's really an exception. Is the stool very old and is an old piece, and it's the question if it is from the furnishing or, as I thought, from the robbers, brought from the robbers. You can see the reparation, the old legs were on the other different sides. You can help me if it is a base or it's not, yeah, of a candelabrum, but I have no other idea what can it be. It's so big. The beer, maybe for the transport of the dead man, it laid on the roof. It's very important. It's the last stage of the ritual, yeah, and that's. I mean, it is. It was the last one. The last thing brought to the chamber. You can see the parts of them. Without digitalization and GIS system, not possible to reconstruct the whole burial. the table is number one, because when we tried to reconstruct it with the modern methods, like the coach, no one firm could lay it turn it, because the diameter is 93 centimeters, so big, from one piece. From the poplar. It's not possible to find such a piece. The new ones, they are always hollow in the middle. As a lot of antique parallels to this. If it is stable or it is offering table, because it is concave. No, it's a part the analysis. The points, they are the collaborators and specialists from countries. Yeah, it's Hersteller. No, the osteology, they are the green, they are the human bones and animal bones. The bones, they are not very good prepared, but quite good for the analysis. And they brought some very interesting results, the analysis. Is the human. You see the system, it's so just 30% of the bones preserved here. Good luck, we have humerus, the femur, and the anthropologist could analyze the age, and it was quite a tall young man. No marks of violence. Just those humoral notes. It's from the riding on the horse. Yeah, on the vertebra.
Donc en cavalier.
Yeah, cavalier. And exciting is this result, new published in Nature. The group from Denmark was analyzed. The DNA is the second analyzed. The first was not very precise from Hungary. According to this analysis, the man was ill, and maybe he had Gelbsucht, hepatitis from type B, yeah. and the discovering of the virus in this is unique, and maybe it was the reason he died on hepatitis. And also the zoology and entomology brought very exciting results. You can see the analysis of pigling fragments found in the grave, like meat part of the inventory, and the Herr Schmölke it can be that the season of the burial was either November, as a late autumn or late spring. It is probably the time, the season of the burial. And it's interesting is the result of the insects from the grave. They are the Scarabei. To mine from Schmölke, there are these species of Scarabeus. They are active just in during 1 month in the year. They migrate, and it's probably the time of entering of the grave by the robbers, and they moved to the grave pit, or grave, the inside of the grave. Because we have not the year, but we have the month of the robbing. Again, the isotope analysis, they are very useful, and to these times the isotope analysis, they are very important and useful. We know now the man from Poprad from the grave was native, according to the analysis. And again, the ratio analysis of carbon and natrium brought you can read it about the diet from the deceased man. It fits very good to the romanization results of the architecture of the inventory, and it was in Roman service, this young man, and if it was a soldier or don't know, they lived in somewhere in Mediterranean in this. Briefly to the leather and textile links, and we hope at the end we will have a reconstruction of the costume of the man from Poprad. There's an overview the situation the ladder finds. It's the bow back you can see as in a secondary position. Those attractive parts, also ladder parts, it's the first reconstruction, is the colleague responsible for the textiles and leather, my colleague, my former doctorand. It's a first idea, it was a cup, so maybe such an art of Pileus or what. There are two parts, the back and the head on the head side. The other parts very, very attractive for the reconstruction of the costume, like the Hungarian dolmans, with Schnürung. And the textile fragments is unfortunately just wool preserved, and parts of brocade textiles with the gold fibers. You can see the decorations. Was just under a microscope. And we are waiting. There are the reconstructions of the other chieftain graves, fully different from the classic meaning. How look a German chieftain, the Gomen. You have seen it on the slides of Ulrich. Now, and we are waiting on the analysis of Oprat. The background of the grave, the general situation, the Germanic, also at the end of the 4th century, the red, they are the Danube Swabians, Quadi, and the blue ones, they are the Vandals, the Przewolsk culture, and the green stains, it's the North Carpathian group, to my mind, coming through the Carpathian range to the south for maybe 3 generations, standing and produced iron in big amounts. As the overview, the situation. Unfortunately, no graves, just the hilltop settlements, or the small settlements is in detail the chamber from Poprad surroundings, Poprad grave, and one important site with some not excavated, but from the surface we had some very attractive finds, like the North African sigillata and Murex trunculus, is the purpur muschel. Maybe it was the place, the site of these native elites. Very, very exciting is this found here presented by some pieces. 3 years before the excavating of the grave came a lady from a village and brought to sell this gold brooch, to antiquary, and the antiquary called the institute, and we have documented the brooch, but the lady disappeared with the brooch, but during the time the same brooch came for selling, so half illegal, but we have it. And the same is auch for other parts of these, maybe a hold, maybe a part of the wood from the grave. In this assemblage, there are 13 pendants with the solidus coins, always Valens or Valentinian, and a handful of the old Roman denarii from the 2nd century, and then other parts of the collier and the fingering. It's possible, maybe during the time we can have the whole collection of these hoard, and I hope so. Perhaps per analysis of the remains of the earth on the surface of they are not cleaned, the things, and I hope we can have the argument if it comes from the grave or not. But it's a question, but a good question. To these times, we prepare the stable exhibition of the grave, but just inner chamber and the furnishing, because the outer chamber, the lock construction, is still in Schleswig, because the huge beams, they are not dry yet. We have 2 years more, but in the next year we hope so. We will have the money and time to present the it's the attraction, and it's the prepared room in the Museum of Poprad, where we'll stay the reconstruction of the chamber. That is a part of the colleagues from our working group. And we are working on such a visualization. Is a first step, first attempt, the looking of the deceased man. With the brooch, as you see. So, thank you.
Thank you very, very much. As written in the program, so Ulrich will contribute to the discussion, and maybe for those who arrived, say a few words about this board game that we advertised as being one of the key pieces of the find. It's still on the computer, right? And then we can interact, because it is very important about all you said about the ethnicity of this man, who he is. So he's a native, Romanized. And of course, then the game, the board, is important as an element of this romanization. C'est Véronique.
That's about the romanization. These times in this area.
Yeah. Comme ça, on pourra poser des questions. On n'aura pas eu le temps de te poser non plus après.
Among these finds, there was this game board made of one piece of wood.
Which wood?
Tanne. Conifère.
Au souci du manette ou l'arc?
I don't know what tanne in English is.
Sapin?
Presque.
Sapin.
Oui.
Conifère.
Conifère. One piece of wood, and it has a raised rim, and on one side there is a grid incised with fine, very precisely cut straight lines that give a grid of 17 by about 15 squares. It is not easy to detect the exact number of squares in this direction. In this direction it's clear, it is 17, and here it is, because they disappear here, and it is not very easy. Sometimes it's not very easy to distinguish the lines, especially the horizontal lines, from the fibers of the wood, from the grain of the wood, simply on the wood grain. So this is not very easy, but very likely it's 15 to 17, which is compared to Roman game boards a lot. Have such a grid, but later boards that have been found in other parts in Germany and in Denmark and Scandinavia, they also show a lot of similar numbers of squares. The other side could have theoretically also kept another game, but this is not the case. The board was just used for one game. You see here the lines, and it has been done in a very precise way. You see here very likely that there were primary markings to lay out the exact measurements of the lines, and then they were cut in this direction, as you see here from the cutting of the fibers. So one would have to turn the piece around, and it was cut from like this. Together with the board were found 6 gaming pieces, glass, counters, 5 black ones, 1 white one, and the white one and one of the black ones are slightly larger than the other ones, and they are of Roman workmanship. So this is Roman fabric. These are typically Roman glass counters. You find them also in other graves in the Barbaricum. But these 6 pieces are the only pieces that have been that were left. So this is what we just in one word. What is important is that this is the best preserved ancient game board north of the Mediterranean. Unfortunately, we cannot say much about the game itself because we do not have information about what kind of game it was and how the game was played, and too few material. Nevertheless, it's a very highly interesting find. And what I need to say also is there's just one piece missing here in the middle of the one of the small sides, and it is possible that this is due to the robbers, to the grave robbers. Perhaps they broke out a bronze handle, because there are several boards that are documented, not from the wood but from the metal fittings that are preserved, that show that very often ancient game boards had handles. And so it is possible. So this is here Goman in the Fürstengrab of Goman, the chieftain's grave. There's also a handle and metal fittings. Here there's also in Neudorf-Kornstein. There's also a bronze handle that belonged to a board. So it is an option that the board had a bronze handle also. So I do not go deeper into detail. So that's it.
And so let's pursue the discussion and questions to both of you. So at least we have a young man and we know what he died of. Because so often we find out young people, strong young people, and we don't know why they died, because there's no violence, there's nothing. But we suspect always such viruses.
Just this illness.
Yeah. It's for me it's astonishing to have such a young man with such an important position, obviously. So, and obviously he lived for quite a while in the Mediterranean, as you said. You know. But he's a relatively young man.
You know. Professor Frey from Copenhagen means he lived somewhere else, Geisel.
Mm-hmm, yeah, this is what I thought.
Yeah.
I thought otage. Je pense qu'ils ont pris très souvent les enfants d'autres peuples, ils les ont donnés dans les familles arabes.
Comme short life, they lived in the frames of the empire.
So
Came back and died.
So, could you please repeat about this man? He was probably grown up where in the Mediterranean?
Yes.
Yeah. No, if grown up, but lived
there.
Yeah. Because of his diet.
Certain time. So it's according of the isotope analysis.
Yes.
And isotope, it is also...
I understand nothing of it.
Yes, but isotope, it is also the water you drink.
Yeah.
And that's important because diet, you can eat olives also there, why not? But water, it's a marker, geographic marker, and a very important one if you want to know where people lived. And that's how they know now, for instance, that a lady who died in London was born in Rome. It's because of isotope. isotopes.
Analyze so secretly analyze twice the same result secretly.
Yeah,
Yes.
wonderful.
C'est un peu comme la dendrochronologie, les isotopes, parce qu'on peut vraiment localiser les gens. Maintenant, je pense, for today, we ruined it, because we drink any water, bottled water, it's finished. But in antiquity, no, so it's very precious for antiquity.
The romanization was so common in the white barbaricum. It's really strange.
But when you speak of geysers or otage, this is a very interesting practice. Could we imagine also that a wealthy family would send, not without being an otage, I don't know, if somebody who knows about this practice?
This kind of a political
exchange.
This is a political tool to control the peoples, the tribes. So they say you have to send the chiefs have sent their children to Rome where they are educated and
Rome away and then come back being womanized.
Yes.
Yeah.
With hepatitis.
Il y a l'exemple fameux de Joubado. Joubado, c'était un prince africain qui avait été élevé par la famille de Ludi, qui avait rentré en Mauritanie, mais il était un prince roman. Il avait seulement la couleur de la peau qui était noire. C'était complètement donc ça se faisait même pour les élites. Donc peut-être que c'était.
Do you have any idea about when exactly the grave was covered? So in another season,
in absence, one analyzes to know how the human body or body in these concrete conditions is skeleted.
So they found a skeleton already. The bones are scattered around. So what they found was already a skeleton.
The anthropologists say, because we haven't the skull of the skeleton, but 4 teeth. Yeah, and anthropologists say the teeth, they are local. They are fall out just after 5 years, not earlier.
But it's very close in time anyway, the road from between.
No, after 5 years.
So it's not a modern drawing, it's an ancient drawing.
No, we have the tools analyzed, the radiocarbon analyzed, and but radiocarbon is 20 years plus minus.
Yes, so yeah, yes.
Okay, we have some pottery shards from the filling.
Yes.
Yes, I find really interesting the coins that is mounted, because we know that they were used coins as amulets. And what is the iconography of the other parts of the coin? So it's something that can be related.
This is a regular solidus coin from Valence. Yeah. Is both rulers, Valens and Valentinian.
Okay, so it's okay.
2 rulers, two.
Okay.
Yeah. Ours, there are the 2 rulers.
Okay.
Valens and Valentinian.
And in the phylacterium was something inside it, or not?
it's not yet analyzed.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So
But it's empty because it's absence the other part of them. Interesting when we then imagine the whole year with these amulets. Yeah? Not only coins. We have this omega-shaped this amulet too. And the peel with the filigrane and other parts have been found in the grave. It's the capsula shaped pendant. It's two.
Now there are different elements. You pointed, for example, to the construction of the grave, of the chamber and everything, which is very Mediterranean. So what do you think about this transfer of knowledge? So it was certainly not the young man who knew how to construct such a grave, such a chamber grave. So there was that knowledge of Roman construction methods that was around there.
Typical transfer of ideas and.
But to do such a thing, it's maybe you need some practice also. And
the Roman citizens could work for the chieftains in Barbaricum too, the carpenters. And so. There are many other questions. For example, when the ritual, the burial was in December, the carpenters had more time to build the chambers, and from technical point of view, they have to build it, bring it auseinander, and then bring it into the
spot,
deep pit, 5 meter deep, and put it again together. This is two processes. To build it, put it out, and again
reassemble.
The techniques, if you see the woods, the blades and so on, it's a brilliant work. All technicians say first class work. Not so busy. For the young man, it's good enough.
Yes. Really very precise.
Very serious work. There's very interesting details.
And as far as the bed is concerned, this is this is also Mediterranean example or what?
The yew wood is just in the mountains. Typical for the high mountains.
High mountains. But the shape and the ornamentation.
Today is not possible to find in whole Carpathian such a good the wood of this quality, because there are no more so grown.
Probably about this transfer of technical knowledge. If the man is thought to have been covered some ruling position, it was not alone. So it was followed by a large group coming from south, coming from the Mediterranean, where he was supposed to live for
Maybe with the young chieftain came sweet with the Mediterranean, together with the craftsman.
Yes.
And the limit was no more exist. Free.
Yeah.
The transfer of ideas or from craftsmen.
I was just wondering, because I'm not very familiar with Roman graves, especially outside of the, let's say, comfort zone. Do you see in this grave things that would be more specific from the region itself, from the Western Carpath? Or is it for you something that is 100% localized?
No, nothing.
Right. So for the moment, but I mean,
The tools of the robbers.
yeah. Yeah, but I mean, maybe the other ones. I mean, do you see things that are like only Roman, or maybe something else? And if something else, then maybe typical from the Carpath. You see my point? I mean, in the forms, what we found, in maybe the game.
Ceramics, for example.
Yes.
The ceramics is native except of the mortarium. Classical.
The ceramic is not native.
The using of mortarium is romanization.
Yes.
So there is a kind of mix inside of this tomb in the end.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And you can see on the picture the table. Here you can see.
Yeah.
The typical tables around it's the real round table.
And it is completely isolated, so there is no cemetery, no necropolis around or what. It's just in the middle of nowhere.
The first step was to check the all around with geophysics and nothing. Maybe it was not family cemetery. It was too young, the man. It was alone, buried. Unfortunately, we haven't seen the graves at all in the surroundings.
Yeah, so thank you. Yeah, just another question.
A question about the textiles, because it's very interesting.
Textiles, yeah.
Yes, because you found some pieces, and so I was wondering the origin of the textiles found, and if you know what kind of fibers were used, and if they were local or if they were originated from somewhere else.
It's the aim of my colleague. She is a specialist in this. It's not for the men, it's for the colleagues. But there are very interesting parts, unfortunately just fragments of them. What I showed was shown with the decorations. It's a part of a kelim, like carpet. Maybe it was covering of the deceased man or what. Those parts are not from the costume, but other parts there are from the. Now it's the big question, the combination, the leather and the textiles. There was a big discussions. It's an Nesat symposium. It's a special international European symposium for textiles, and there's big discussions about the groups of the calyx, discuss about the colors and the gold fibering the techniques. And they have the colors, they are analyzed, they have the colors.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. Thank you for coming and giving us insight in this fascinating find.